Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about BNGO or Bionano Genomics. I want to go over the current price action, I want to talk about some recent news, I want to go over the current analyst price targets, I want to go over the BNGO bullish case scenario, and finally give my updated price target. So stay tuned and let's make some money. But before I get into the video, I want to give a massive shout out to the 689 of you that have currently dinged that notification bell, because you're always the first to watch my new videos. So be sure to drop a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ding that notification bell so that you don't miss another video just like this one. So let's start by going over that recent price action. As we can see here, the BNGO stock recently broke out of this downward trend and is back on an upward trend. I expect the BNGO stock to continue higher and to continue following this upward trend unless there's any massive change in circumstance for BNGO, or there's like a giant new competitor, or the bullish case falls apart. I expect the stock to return to around $10 by kind of mid-July-ish and hopefully continue upwards to $13 and then hopefully start reaching all-time highs over $16 sometime in the near future. In terms of our future levels of resistance, I think we've got some resistance around the $9 mark, $9.80, $11.40, $12.60 and ultimately $15.60. In terms of some of the BNGO news, a new analyst from BTIG recently announced coverage of the BNGO stock, giving it a price target of $10. In terms of the other price targets of analysts, we've also got a $12 target and a $14 target from the Oppenheimer Group. Obviously, the Oppenheimer Group are a very well-respected research house, and therefore we can see that the analyst targets for BNGO are very, very positive. The analysts suggest that we believe BNGO is on the cusp of disrupting the cytogenetics testing market with the efficiency of BNGO's OGM, optical genome mapping technology. That technology is what powers Bionano's Saphyr platform, which can provide large-scale structural variation analysis involving hundreds to tens of millions of base pairs in the genome. Next-generation sequencing technologies, NGSs on their own, on the other hand, cannot reliably detect large-scale structural variations, and there's growing clinical evidence that suggests that large-scale structural variations can offer key insights into diagnosis and therapeutic applications in rare diseases and cancers. This analyst is basically suggesting that BNGO can look at a large-scale portion of the structural genome, and doing that is a lot better than looking at only a very small portion of it and trying to identify the problem from looking at a small portion. It's obviously much easier to identify a problem if you have 100% of the data, rather than trying to identify a problem if you can only see 5% of the data, for example. The platform is also getting increasing use, and in the last few months alone has been taken on at Augusta University, King's College Hospital in London, the NHS Regional Genetics Laboratory in Belfast City Hospital, and at the Indolo Biomolecular Genetics Laboratory in Cape Town, South Africa, amounting to the first adoption of Saphyr in Africa. Having a look at the BNGO website, we can also see that they've got distributors in Africa, Australia and New Zealand, Brazil, Central and Eastern Europe, China, India, Japan, Mexico, the Middle East, basically all over the world, and therefore the BNGO system is really getting out there completely worldwide. You might remember from the last BNGO update that I gave quite a while ago, just after they'd raised a lot of money through a public offering, I said that after they'd raised that money, they really needed to try and get the Saphyr system out there across the entire world. And so far it seems that they're doing just that. In terms of the BNGO bullish case, this article compares BNGO to Illumina. Interestingly, Illumina do only provide that small-scale, short-scale analysis of the genome, but obviously Illumina started a long time ago, before 2004, and it suggests that investors who bet $10,000 on Illumina back in 2004 saw the value of their shares reach $1 million in 2018, and it's still marching higher. The article goes on to suggest exactly that. The technology that made Illumina a huge winner for its long-term investors has a serious flaw. Chopping long DNA strands into smaller, easily readable pieces and then stitching them back together again is relatively quick and cheap, but it misses lots of mutations that led to severe diseases. In a nutshell, Illumina's machines aren't much help when it comes to finding mutations that involve really long sequences of DNA that repeat themselves over and over again. The Saphyr system from Bionano Genomics, though, employs proprietary optical mapping technology that excels at identifying long DNA sequences that have been deleted, repeated, or inverted, or can just contain errors or problematic genomes. It says that Bionano Genomics wasn't the first to market optical genome mapping technology for biomedical research, but it's miles ahead of any potential competitors. The company shipped 11 Saphyr systems in the first 3 months of 2021, bringing the total to 107 at the end of March. BNGO are trying to do exactly what Illumina did over 15 years ago, and that's become a monopoly and own the optical genome mapping market. 15 years ago, Illumina were the #1 and basically only supplier of genome mapping technology, and therefore own the market. BNGO are trying to do the exact same thing, but the BNGO machines can read much longer strands of DNA and therefore are effectively much better because they don't miss things that the Illumina products do. I think this part of the article is really important, and it says that BNGO has traditionally sold its tools to research institutions and not healthcare providers. And we can see that from the other article, because they're currently selling their system to a lot of different universities and research laboratories. Obviously, there's only a set number of research institutions, and those institutions tend to only buy one example of your product and then perform their research on that one product. Whereas healthcare providers tend to purchase tens of hundreds, if not thousands of products for each and every doctor to have their own individual one to perform analysis and diagnose patients with, rather than just use for research purposes. It says that allowing healthcare providers who don't have advanced degrees in molecular biology to add optical genome mapping to their rare disease diagnosis toolkits isn't going to be easy, but BNGO is marching this direction. Around the middle of 2021, the company expects to begin marketing 2 laboratory-developed tests to healthcare providers in the EU, which is absolutely brilliant news. It says that it's still early innings, but BNGO's latest income statement suggests demand for optical genome mapping services is strong. The company spent $9.5 million on SG&A expenses in the first quarter, which is 29% more than the previous year period. However, despite the modest increase in operating expenses, first quarter revenues jumped a whopping 179% higher. Therefore, we know that BNGO have got a good market. They're trying to get out there and develop a monopoly and own the market. We know that BNGO are currently executing well at getting their product out there and into the hands of people worldwide, and specifically into the hands of healthcare providers. And we also know that their balance sheet, their income statement or P&L, is also backing that up as well, with revenues that are jumping higher significantly and expenses that are increasing a bit, but not nearly on the same level. In terms of my price target and price prediction, I expect BNGO to continue on this upward trend, reaching $15 over the next few months, and then making its way towards the $30 mark. That's my target, $30 over the next 6 months to a year. If you want to pick up some shares in BNGO, but you don't yet have an account, be sure to sign up using my links in the description to get some free shares. You can currently get 2 free shares worth up to $1,850 with Webull at the moment if you're in the US, and a free share with free trade worth up to £200 if you're in the UK or in Europe. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my others. Alternatively, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers!